Do you know what a sea cow is? Well, they're manatees, and they're the gentle giants that live in our rivers here in Florida. I wanted to see if I could recreate their natural habitat on a few wine glasses with water slide decal paper, resin, and a little bit of alcohol ink. So watch the video and see how I did it. I do a lot of wine glass videos, but I also sell a lot of wine glasses at art and craft shows. The prep is the same. Like, I put my glasses on the turner the same way every single time. I use white pool noodles from Dollar Tree because number one, they're cheap, and number two, they're very versatile, very flexible. I use, several pieces, one in the middle, and then I cut a piece in half and kind of sandwich it around the glass so that the glass fits snugly on the turner arm. I also use a rubber shelf liner because sometimes the glass does not want to fit, or the turner rod, the turner arm does not want to fit snugly inside of that little hole in the pool noodle. So the rubber shelf liner, again, very versatile. It sticks like glue, and you're able to make it fit snugly on the turner. So the pool noodle, the hole in the pool noodle wants to go in the middle, and you want it to fit snugly on that turner arm so that your glass is not going all cattywampus and, sideways. So the pool noodle, sometimes I will cut it in half lengthwise, but then also sometimes I will cut it in quarters so that I can kind of, use those pieces wherever I need to. And boom, that is it. Do 1, 2, 3, or 4. I have a quad turner. I have a link in the description. I've had this for about a year, and it works really, really well. It's very inexpensive, and it's a plus in my craft room. And then to use water slide decals, you do need a little bowl of water. So what water slide decals are, they are images that you print on special paper. This paper is really, really thin, but it's especially made for either an inkjet printer or a laser printer. So you can either buy water slide decal paper that has a clear background, and you use those on very light colored backgrounds, like a tumbler that you might have painted in light blue or white. But the water slide decal paper I'm using today has a white background, and this is for background colors on your glass or your tumbler that is dark or that's clear, like these glasses that I'm using. So once you have your images printed on your paper and you let the ink dry, you do have to seal it, and I use Rust-Oleum clear spray, and I do 3 separate layers of the clear spray that seals the ink in. So I spray one time, I let it dry, and then I spray another time, let it dry, and then I spray a third time and then let it dry. Then once the spray is clear, or is dry, not clear, because it's clear. Once the spray is dry, then I cut out my images. You don't want to cut your images out first, because what will happen if you cut them out first and then you spray your clear spray on, you're basically gluing those edges down, and you will never get it to separate off of the paper. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, once you soak it in the water, it takes about 30 seconds for the paper to separate from the backing. So what I'm pulling away is the backing, and then you just kind of position it where you want. Now these decals, well, I call them decals. They're not really decals, I guess. They're not stickers either. Oh, we're just going to call them decals. So they're fragile, but not as fragile as you would think. So take a paper towel and just kind of squeeze out all the water and all the air bubbles. Some shapes are a little bit more forgiving. This one is going to have a little bit of wrinkles on it, and that's just because I'm putting it on a curved surface, and the decal is not flexible. It's not going to curve with the glass, so I'm going to have to cheat just a little bit. Okay, so I have the second one in the water already, and as I take the second one out, I put the third one in the water, and you can see it curling up, but that's okay. And then just take a little bit of water, put it on your glass. You saw me doing that, and then you want to kind of just separate the backing from the decal. And the way you can do this is just kind of, you just sort of want to slide your finger over the decal and try to get it to separate. So kind of pinching the decal between your fingers and sort of just sliding it off. I really don't know the best way to explain that, but that's kind of what you're doing. Um, and if it doesn't separate from the paper easily, then just stick it back in the water and let it soak a little bit and then try again. All right, let me see if I can show you on this one real quick. Okay, so take your fingers, get a little bit of water, put it on your glass. It's going to give you a nice slick surface. And see, I'm kind of just taking my fingers and trying to slide the image off of the backing. When it separates, you know it's ready. If it's not separating, then stick it back in the water. This one actually may go on the glass pretty easily. So the paper towel, I'm just sort of squishing it. I'm not trying to dry it, and I certainly don't want to drag the paper towel over the image because you can tear it. Now, some of the wrinkles probably will flatten themselves out on their own, but if not, I have a way to kind of fake it, if that makes sense. And what you want to try to do is get out as much of the water or excess water. You don't want it soaking wet underneath the decal, and then just try to push out the air bubbles as much as you can. And then what you're going to want to do is let the decals dry completely. And normally what I do, I just leave it for the day for a couple of hours, or I just leave them overnight and then start again the next morning. It's whatever floats your boat. So I probably did let these dry overnight because I have a habit of having several projects going at once. So I probably did get distracted with something else and just, hit these the next day. Anyway, I'd always forget to take my stickers off, but anyway. Okay, so what I'm doing now, I'm taking some acrylic paint marker. Now, you may be wondering what these animals are. These are manatees. They live in our rivers here in Florida, and they eat seagrass. The seagrass is starting to come back. We had a lot of seagrass to die over the years, and that's just from pollution and other environmental things. And the seagrass is coming back, and it's nice to see. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking some acrylic paint markers and I'm drawing on the seagrass because I want my manatees to have plenty to eat, because some of them have babies. And they're also called sea cows. They're huge, they're lumbering, they're very, very gentle, and they're super, super slow. They come up in the canals all the time. They bring their babies. It's so cute to watch them, but they are called sea cows. And I can kind of see that. They're very curious, like cows are out in the pasture. They will come up right to the dock. You're not supposed to touch them because they are protected, but it's just really, really cool to see them. The markers dry really, really quickly, and it gives me enough time to mix up my resin. I'm going to use KS Resin Liquidy Split, which is my absolute go-to for wine glasses, no matter what technique I'm using. The Liquidy Split cures really, really fast. These will be dry to the touch in about 4 hours, and I'll be able to take them off the turner. So I'm mixing up 40 milliliters, which is going to be 10 milliliters per glass. And 10 milliliters is absolutely perfect. Now, I do not resin all the way to the top because I don't like to have resin where lips can touch it. Even though it's food safe once it's fully cured, I just prefer not to resin all the way to the top. And I do not resin the very bottom of the glass because I don't want things getting wonky and unlevel. Now I'm going to use alcohol inks to create the manatee's habitat. So they live in the river. Our rivers are not crystal clear. They're brackish water, so it's a mixture of salt water and fresh water. But up in the canals, we have a lot of muck. There's a lot of just, mud and debris along the bottom. So the brown, I know that looks kind of odd, but the brown represents the mucky bottom. And now I'm putting in some green. And then I'm going to use a couple of different colors of blue. These are all the Let's Resin alcohol inks, and I think it was like a 26 piece or 36 piece set. But the colors are really, really pretty. They're really vibrant. I love that blue. I don't know if it was the turquoise blue or what color it is, but once these are all blended together, they just look amazing. I did use some of the white, and I think this might be sinker white that you would use in like a mold or a cabochon. You don't need to use sinker white, but sinker white basically is all I have. Even without the heat gun, look at how pretty these are blending together. I'm really, really happy with the color combination. It does look kind of weird with having the brown on the bottom. It almost looks like a latte. But the heat gun, so the heat gun I have on low heat and high air. And really all I'm doing is pushing the resin, I'm pushing the colors together. It almost looks like stained glass. It's really, really pretty. But you just use the heat gun and push that resin around until you are happy with the way it looks. Sometimes you can even get a little bit of lacing in there. But you definitely want to use low heat, and you don't want to leave the heat on the glass for very long. Just kind of, pulse it on and off. You don't want to heat the resin up too much, but the plus side is that this also will pop bubbles. And look at how pretty this blending is. I am absolutely in love with this technique. I did let these spin on the turner overnight so they could get fully cured, but 4 to 6 hours is the general time frame for this resin. And now I'm just taking a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel and wiping off any of the alcohol that may have gotten on the glass and skipped over the resin. I do occasionally have a little bit of alcohol ink that gets on the glass, and a paper towel with alcohol gets it right off. You want to make sure to not spray the alcohol directly on the resin, and don't rub the alcohol paper towel, or don't rub the paper towel with the alcohol on the resin part as much as you can, because it can take away the shine of the resin and it just kind of dulls it. So just be careful when you're doing this, and that you're only rubbing away the alcohol ink that has gotten on the glass. I am super happy with the colors and how the inks really blended together, but I probably could have done a little bit better job at moving the resin away from the decals so that you can see the manatees a little bit more. But if I think about it, our rivers are murky, so this may actually be a perfect look. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.